Hey guys, it's Hans Hobbies, and this is my um, kind of unboxing and first impressions of my new Kyosho Mini Z 4x4. Specifically, I got it in the Suzuki Jimny Sierra body style in blue. And yeah, I know I said unboxing, but there's no box here because the box is kind of generic. It's all the same for all the Mini Z 4x4, so the only thing different is the car inside, and you can see it out of a little window, but everything else is literally all the same. So instead of like messing with the box and pulling stuff out of the box, I decided to just show you all the accessories that it comes with here, and then I can get right on to my first impressions and the reasons why I got this car. So to start off, the car costs $199, which means it doesn't qualify for the $200 coupon on Tower Hobbies, which is where I got it. So I threw in these rechargeable Onyx AAA batteries because the Mini Z does run on AAA batteries. But I will start out by saying, if you see these Duratrax like Onyx AAAs, do not get them. They are worthless. They do not work. I'm sure they're good batteries if they worked, but they don't work because if you can see, the little positive contacts are too short, which means most battery trays that use AAA batteries are not going to be able to accommodate these properly, so they won't make proper contact and then they won't work. So yeah, $10 for this, kind of a waste of money, but it did get me over the $200 mark for this, so I could use the coupon. So if you do it that way, or just get something else for $10, or literally like maybe $1 or something from Tower Hobbies, and you'll be able to use the $20 coupon for this and get it for below sticker. And I'll speak more about the price a bit later, but this is what the truck comes with. So obviously it comes with a truck, comes with the radio. No batteries are included, but you do need 8 AAA batteries because both the controller and the truck takes AAAs. I would recommend you get rechargeable AAAs, especially for the truck, so you don't have to constantly buy new AAA batteries. It also comes with these gears. It has a bunch of different gear ratios, like pinion gears, and the different like motor mounts for that, for the proper gear mesh for that, as well as this little stick is bind key. You can stick that little thing in the little button on the ESC to bind it to the controller if it ever becomes disconnected for some reason. And this is not technically an accessory, more part of packaging, but it could be an accessory. The truck comes mounted, screw mounted to this base here, and it makes a nice little display stand if you really wish. It has little like nubs at the top and there's little holes that on the bottom of the truck, and you could, if you really wanted to, key it in. Of course, it's not going to want to do it on camera, but you get the point. You basically set it on top of there like that and have a little display case. And because crawlers tend to have soft tires, if you leave it sitting for a long time on your shelf or somewhere on the tires will eventually develop flat spots. So this is a nice little stand that you can put rest the car on and help protect your tires in storage. So I actually really like this. The jiggling inside is the extra screws that were up here that mounted it to the truck. But the controller is this one. It's just like this typical synchro controller from Kyosho. All the Mini Zs come with the same one. It feels very light and kind of cheap, but the controls are very nice. It has nice adjustments. It has steering dual rate, channel 4 for some reason. It has throttle trim, steering trim. The steering wheel has a bit of bounce, but it is pretty responsive and has a nice little foam grip on it. And the trigger feels nice, and overall, at least it's light, so it's not going to be fatiguing to hold for a long time. So that is pretty nice. The foam does also feel really nice, though personally I'm not a big fan of foam wheels because they tend to get gross really fast. But this being a mostly indoor truck, I guess the foam is not as much of a big deal. So, but finally getting to the truck. Now the truck here, this is not my only mini crawler that I've owned or played with. I've tried the Element Enduro 24. I had a SCX 24 from Axial, and I have a RC 4-wheel drive 1/18 scale Grande 2. And this, I think, competes more with the Grande 2 than it does with the SCX 10 or the Enduro. The Enduro and the SCX 24, I mean, those two trucks are meant more for on the performance side, I think. Whereas the Kyosho and the RC 4-wheel drive are more towards the scale side. So both those trucks are going to be $200 or more. They're both going to come with very, very nice and scale hard bodies and scale tires and all that. And both of those look fantastic. I will do a comparison between this truck and the RC 4-wheel drive when I get back home and have access to that truck. So hopefully you guys can look forward to that. I already have some impressions about this and stuff I already like more about this than the RC 4-wheel drive, but I will save a lot of that for the video I will have of the comparison. But this is a really cool model for me because, one, I love this truck in blue. This is one of my favorite cars and actually a kind of a dream car of mine, especially since Suzuki hasn't sold cars or trucks in America, or cars and commercial, passenger cars in America since like 2013, and they haven't sold a Jimny generation since the Suzuki Samurai in like the 80s and like the Sidekick and stuff. I think I don't know if that's technically a Jimny, but you know, they haven't really sold much in America. And this truck is not available for sale in America, the real one. So it's kind of cool to be able to have and be able to drive like scale model versions of it whenever I can. And this, from what I've seen in pictures online and stuff like that, this looks like it's a very, very nice scale depiction of it. Kyosho does an amazing job with the Mini Z bodies. It has all these little details, like the little door locks are painted, the little fuel cap doors there. This little blinker light is a clear plastic piece. They're not functional, but it does add a nice little bit of detail. It even has like windshield wiper cowl, windshield wipers, even the little nozzles for the windshield wiper fluid. Even in the back here, you can see the little nozzle for that. Little third brake light, little hinges. Real tire back here, though the wheel is fake. The tire is real, so that looks very nice. And the Suzuki badge and the Jimny badge are not stickers. They're actually like they're like printed onto the actual body, so that looks very, very nice. Little places for license plates, the tail lights on the bumper, and in the front here we have little blinker lights. The nice little Suzuki badge, which is also not a sticker, it's actually a badge. The grill is all hard plastic. Everything that looks very, very nice and highly detailed. And another thing I really like is some of the detail parts, like the antenna is rubber, so that won't break off. And then the door mirrors are also flexible plastic, kind of rubbery, so they also won't break off, which is a big problem even like 10 scale crawlers have, is they give you mirrors, but then they end up breaking off, which is not cool. The wheels are also scale accurate to the actual Jimny factory wheels, so that also looks very, very cool. And overall, very nicely painted. The fender flares are matte, whereas the top and the rest of the body is nice, a nice metallic blue. And I believe they paint this in the same paint color as the real trucks, so that's also very cool for scale accuracy. Some things you might want to keep in mind with this truck is the wheels and tires are, first of all, they're not hex design, so you can't fit like upgrade wheels from like RC 4-wheel drive or Axial on these. And also that, especially on the Jimny, the wheels and tires are much, much smaller than their standard like mini crawler tires, so they also won't fit with some modification. I have seen people put on the 4Runner or the Jeep wheels and tires from Mini Z 4x4 on the Jimny, and it does look pretty nice. It looks nice and tough, and because the truck on its own in stock form has a pretty high ride height. Realistically, the Jimny should ride more like this, but it does have a pretty high ride height. So I think if you put the Mini Z 4Runner or Jeep wheels and tires on there, it's gonna fit pretty good, and you're gonna get a little bit more ground clearance out of that too. So something to keep in mind. But overall, it's very, very light, but it does feel very high quality. I don't feel ripped off at all for the $200 price point because of the build quality and the scale accuracy of this. This is essentially a scale model you can drive, which is super, super cool. There are some caveats to it that I'll mention when I open the take the top off. And to take the top off, you notice there's no body clips on the top, and that's because it uses these little piano wire body clips on the bottom. You kind of have to push it out. You do need 3 hands for this, but you just kind of bend the piano wire back, and then the body just comes off. Unfortunately, on the Jimny body, it looks like you're not able to put LED headlights on it. There's no light buckets on this version, so that is a bit unfortunate, but that's something you could probably remedy pretty easily, I would suspect. Even the lights on the bumper are not functional buckets, even the tail lights, so you can't really put lights in the Jimny. You can put the lights in the Jeep and the other versions, but not the Jimny. Taking a look at the chassis, you can see the servo is mounted up front, and something to note about the servo is it is a 5-wire servo, so you can't just replace the servo. And also the servo housing and the servo itself is integrated into the battery tray. So if you want to replace the servo, if the servo goes out and you want to replace the servo, you have to basically replace the internals of it and not the actual servo, because it's just part of this whole unit here. And you can see I have my nickel metal hydride AAAs in here. The battery tray is pretty easy to get to. You just squeeze this and pull it up to take the batteries out, and there's a nice little ribbon to pull the batteries out as well. The motor is mid-mounted here, and it's just like a typical Mini Z motor, and like a typical Mini Z ESC. So we have ports for gyros and LED light kits, and then the motor contacts are a little bit unique for Mini Z, so it does still have that Mini Z DNA in there, though it is a very, very different chassis from the regular Mini Zs. And another thing to mention is the Mini Z 4x4 bodies, because the body mounting system is different, they will not fit on the regular Mini Z chassis. The servo being chassis mounted, it does have quite a bit of bump steer, you can see, but at this scale and at this speed, you're really not gonna notice the bump steer, so I don't really find that much of a problem. Overall, the links are metal. Everything else is kind of plastic. The chassis is metal and the links are metal, but everything else is plastic. But it does keep it nice and lightweight, but the plastic is nice and high quality, and I really like the feel of this. The shocks are also very, very long and very high travel, so that's also very neat. They are pretty bouncy though, so that might be something you could look into remedying, so it's not as bouncy, but it's nice and soft and it seems to work really well. Putting the body on is pretty simple. You just literally put it, you just basically line it up on the wheelbase and just press it, and then the body is on. So that it can't really get much easier than that for a hard scale body like that. I just absolutely love it. Another thing that's really nice is you can leave the AAAs in there and just turn the car off. And the power on switch is in the back here. So you just turn the radio on, which the switch is for that is here. And then you turn the car on there. And you can kind of hear it buzzing into life. And it has nice and fast responsive servos, just like any other Mini Z. It has nice throttle control, which is nice. It does have a regular tap to brake and reverse speed control, so that is something that some people will have to get used to, though I found if you come to a complete stop and then hit reverse, it will go into reverse automatically. But if you're moving forward at any point, you do have to tap it twice. But it does have a pretty decent drag brake on it, which is very important for crawlers. So you can see that angle there. Pretty steep. That's really steep now. And look at that. Like that's if you're climbing uphill and the forward weight bias is there, it can climb pretty steep hills. And the drag brake is very strong. I don't know if that's the drag brake or the transmission acting as a drag brake, but either way, it works very well, and I think it's designed very well. The articulation is also very good. You can see the stand here comes up to about like a little bit over half its wheel height, and not even a problem. That's not even full flex there. It could still go up a little bit more. So despite having small wheels, because of the suspension travel that this thing has, I think it's going to be very capable. And actually, let's try climbing over some stuff here. I will actually go over to my bed and we can see it crawl a little bit. So the nice thing about the Mini Z is like you can drive it basically anywhere, and you can just crumple up some blankets and it immediately becomes your own little crawler course. Blankets are a little bit hard to crawl technically because the terrain will shift on you really quickly, and since the ground's not solid, it makes some maneuvering a little bit more difficult than normal. But you can see this nice slow control. It has lots of torque for the size of the motor and the truck. And the chassis and the motor itself is actually very quiet. The only reason you can hear it pretty loudly is because the body is very square and very tall. So it has a lot of area for the sound to echo. But if you drive it without the body on, it's basically silent. You can see all the nice little flex going on. The tires aren't the best tires in the world, but they are decently soft and sticky. I probably won't change these tires anytime soon. They are very nice tires, and also adds to the overall look of the truck. Ignore my pajamas in the back there. Even without any wheel weights or anything, and with a hard body, the performance of this truck is actually really good. It will tackle stuff that I fully won't expect it to tackle. You saw there earlier, it has a really nice forward weight bias, so it can climb pretty steep hills despite the hard body, and that's not something that my RC 4-wheel drive could do without some changes to it, and it still kind of struggles with it, honestly. The lightweight also helps a lot because that means the motor won't have to work as hard to move the truck, and it is able to glide over really soft terrain like these blankets pretty easily. Oops, that was my bad. That is another benefit it has over the RC 4-wheel drive, because the RC 4-wheel drive uses the exact same size motor, but it's probably twice as heavy, if not 3 times as heavy. So and the top speed of this, if you want to take it trailing for some reason, is pretty decent. It is faster in forwards than reverse, and it does pretty well. But hopefully that was a nice little first impressions and overview of my new Kyosho Mini Z 4x4. I do also have a Kyosho Mini Z all-wheel drive, but I accidentally shipped that to my house and not the hotel, so it's gonna be a while before I'll be able to mess with that at the hotel. But until then, I'm gonna have a lot of fun with this, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.